Hi, Anna.
Hey.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
We're here with the Lactation Collection.
Yes.
So I would love for you to tell me how that came about and what sparked your passion in doing this.
Yeah. As I started working as a registered nurse, I worked in an OBGYN office, and oftentimes I was answering phone calls of women that were calling in with a variety of different problems, but I hadn't had kids yet. And so when questions came in about lactation, I was like, I don't know how to answer your questions. So I'd ask the other nurses, and they're like, I don't know the answer to that question. I'd go talk to the providers. I don't know how to answer that question. I'm like, who knows how to answer this question, or any lactation questions in general, really. So I decided that I wanted to become a lactation consultant so that I could help answer the questions and provide education and fill that gap. So about 10 years ago, I started studying to become a lactation consultant. I got pregnant. I had my own baby. I took the test, everything. And about 9 years ago, certified as an IBCLC and started a business that we called Prenatal Insights. And as that kind of grew, and then as I got closer to going back to school to become a women's health nurse practitioner and midwife, I realized I couldn't do it by myself anymore. So I started adding other IBCLCs to my group, and then we changed the name to the Lactation Collection because there's a collection of us and a collection of our knowledge that we can provide to women and other businesses and OBs and pediatricians to be able to all work together to help and support moms.
Yeah, amazing. So tell me, I've been told this before, but I always forget what IBCLC stands for.
Yeah, it's International Board Certified Lactation Consultant.
Okay. So you don't have to be a nurse to be a lactation consultant.
No. That's just one of the easier ways, because to become an IBCLC, there's a certain group of college courses, anatomy, physiology, development stuff that you have to take, and all of those are within the nursing scope. Sometimes people that have become speech language pathologists or physical therapists, like those are in there. And so some of those people, depending on what their focus is, might also become a lactation consultant. And then you have 95 hours of specific lactation education that you have to do. And then depending on which pathway you take, there are 3 different pathways. And it just depends on which pathway you take, how many hours of direct hands-on or virtual care and knowledge clinicals, essentially, that you have to get. And then you have to take a test to get certified.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
So you've done that. You've been a nurse. You have now just graduated with your doctorate in nurse practitioner degree and midwifery.
Yes.
So tell me, what's your plan now? What's the next 5 years look like for you?
Yeah. So with the Lactation Collection, as a nurse practitioner and midwife now, I really hope to be able to expand what our offerings are so that we can add more services, add more things that we can do. Because now as a nurse practitioner, I'll be able to diagnose and prescribe and draw labs, do different things that we generally have to refer back to other providers to do when we see moms. And so now we'll be able to just keep that all in-house, which simplifies it for all of the moms too. We don't have to say, hey, we think you have this problem. Go back to your OB, talk to them about it, get a prescription for this. It would be the, hey, you do have this problem. I can diagnose you with that, and I can treat you appropriately, or we can get these labs drawn, and we don't have to send you back and forth between people. So that will be nice to be able to just expand. Yeah.
That's so cool. Now you just need to get your physical therapy degree.
I know.
You're going to have everything.
I'll leave that to you.
So, I mean, we're talking about this whole person, right? Someone comes to you with breastfeeding issues. Usually it's not the only issue that they have, right? They might have hormonal issues or mental health issues or physical issues. You're going to be able to start addressing some more of those.
Yep.
I'm curious, what are some of the more physical issues that you might see these moms come in with?
Yeah, I think that can really depend on the situation, but I think depending on when we're seeing people, and a lot of the times it's very early postpartum, I mean, physically, they're still very much recovering from just having had a baby. Sometimes we see them literally days from when they came home from the hospital. And so they're still trying to figure out what their body is doing and recovering from having given birth, whether vaginally or cesarean, and trying to go through that process while also figuring out this new skill of breastfeeding and how their baby works with all of this and how everything combines that way. And lack of sleep and all of the mental health things that come with it too. But I think depending on how far postpartum they might have different like physical things that come with that. But most of the time, because we're lactation, we're seeing a lot of physical things with the breasts and with milk coming in or supply or mastitis or different things like that. Yeah. That cause them difficulties or pain or things. But I'm excited to be able to expand, and if they do have other physical problems, to be able to assess the situation and expand what we offer that way.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I'm thinking about my postpartum moms, especially the ones that are breastfeeding and who have had like C-section scars, right? Like being able to sit up in bed, that's really challenging. You know, mid-back pain from being here a lot or here, right? You're like trying to get into latch. And just that also just doesn't help with
for sure.
figuring it all out and you're in pain. And
we're often encouraging moms to make sure that they're sitting back and comfortable before they bring baby to the breast. Yeah. And then assessing too, like once baby's latched, make sure that you get those shoulders down and like roll them back. Even while you're feeding, you can do neck stretches and things just to help with that part, because so many times we see this. And I've done it before. It's uncomfortable. And when you're feeding a baby for 20 plus minutes like this, your back really hurts afterwards. It's not very comfortable. So just trying to get those positioning changes in how they're feeding, or even just like looking down at their baby all the time, because baby's just so cute. Yeah. You want to cuddle them and hold them and look down. It's like, well, you also need to spend some time looking up and stretching the neck so that you're not hunching over all the time. Yeah. But,
so you've had a bit of a unique journey yourself. You struggled with infertility for quite a while. Now you have 3 kids, correct? Twins and then another. Okay. So how do you feel like your experience with infertility and just now finally being able to have your own children, how do you feel like that has shown up in how you work?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think because of my own personal experiences, I can be a lot more compassionate and empathetic with other women and understanding their situations. Even if I haven't personally gone through something like that, I may have gone through something similar or something else, to be able to understand more of where they're coming from, what they're struggling with, and being able to help them. I know there are so many different things that can affect mental health. And so that's been something that I've also been very passionate about, because after having my twins, I also had postpartum depression. And so I really wanted to focus on making sure that we're assessing for postpartum depression at every visit that we do, that it's not just depending on who they're seeing for their OB care, that they're getting assessed maybe at a 2-week appointment and then at their 6-week postpartum appointment. But we're assessing every time we see them. So that might be 3 days postpartum, a week postpartum, 2 weeks postpartum, 4 weeks postpartum, 3 months postpartum. Like, we're checking on them and assessing their mental health all throughout that process, and making sure that they're doing okay, or if they're not, that they're being referred to where they need to be to get the support that they need. Because I've always been passionate about, like, you need to be able to take care of yourself so that you can take care of other people and your children specifically. And I think that that's a big part of it when it comes to the postpartum period, that a lot of times just gets missed.
I'm thinking of my own experience with my second. I lost my milk supply at 4 months because I was dealing with postpartum depression and wasn't really taking care of myself enough so that I couldn't, make the supply enough for my baby. And I didn't make that connection until years later, where I'm like, oh, that's why I lost my milk supply, was because mentally I was not doing okay. Yeah. So amazing. I love that you can help your patients physically by helping them take care of their mental health. That's awesome. So there's a quote on your site from a mom who says she had just about given up with breastfeeding. What do you think makes the difference between a mom who does give up versus a mom who is able to figure it out and keep going?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is having support, and having support from people that have a knowledge and background and understanding about what's going on. Because it's great to have support from family and friends, and that is very important and can make a huge difference in the success of a breastfeeding journey. But if you're having troubles and difficulty, and those people don't know how to support you in the way of helping you actually breastfeed or pump or whatever it is that you might need to be able to continue on with that, then it's really easy to just stop.
Yeah.
And so having support from people like lactation consultants, doulas, other medical people that understand that more and can guide you in the right direction and refer you to the correct people to go to can be really helpful. And there are some times when mom is in just such a stressful situation and things are crazy that sometimes we've said, it's okay to not do this. And sometimes they just need to hear that from somebody, or a lactation person, somebody of authority, to be like, okay, I don't have to. And sometimes just that reduces their stress enough that then their supply is fine and like things are fine.
Interesting.
And then they can continue on. Sometimes that's what they need to do, is just stop. Other times we can assess the situation and say, oh yeah, this is what's going on. This is what we can help to fix it and help improve it and continue on. And we're able to go through that process with them. And depending on the situation, there's so many different variables that can go into things. But yeah, I think one of the biggest things is just that support, and support from somebody with education behind it so that they can educate you through the process and help you specifically with what you need.
Yeah, absolutely. So someone is pregnant right now. What is something that they can do in their, whatever trimester they're in to prepare themselves for their breastfeeding journey after the baby comes?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. And that's something that we're very passionate about, because prenatal education is a very big part of preparing for postpartum. So many times women prepare for their labor and delivery process, which again, it's great. That's important to do. But timeline-wise, that takes, this much time in your life of childbearing years and whatnot. Whereas breastfeeding is your full-time job after having a baby, and you do it for a much longer period of time. And so preparing and getting training for your new full-time job essentially is going to help make that process so much easier. And also, if troubles do come up, you then know either what to do about it or who to talk to and where to get that support that you need. So we teach prenatal breastfeeding classes to help those women that are currently pregnant to be able to prepare, feel empowered and confident in their body's ability to then breastfeed afterwards. And I've found from people that we see that have taken prenatal breastfeeding education before having their baby that they're already that one step ahead. Things tend to go better for them rather than people that haven't prepared at all and they're like, I'll just wing it. It's fine. Like, that's what everybody said. Like, it's natural, right? It will just come naturally. We'll figure it out. It's fine. And then it's not always fine. And they don't know what to do. And they don't have those resources. They don't have that knowledge to go back to. And they can have a harder time. And oftentimes it takes them longer then to reach out for support because they don't know what's available. They don't know what's out there, and that they can get help and that things can and should be easier than they are. And so prenatal breastfeeding education is a huge thing. That's actually what I did for my doctorate project. Was prenatal education.
Wow. What is a big thing that you teach in these classes that maybe a lot of people aren't aware of?
Yeah, I think some of the biggest things that people aren't aware of is just how their body works, how milk is made in the body, how it functions. And hormones that are involved in the process of milk making and when they're at their highest or their lowest, and why milk volume changes throughout the day because of those hormones. Also, we always have people practice breastfeeding positioning with dolls just to help figure out how you're going to hold your baby in the different positions, whether it's cross cradle, cradle, football. And practicing that, I'm a hands-on learner. So before I had my baby, it was nice to kind of practice, and then it was a whole lot easier to change positions or do different positions after having a baby because I practiced beforehand. I like helping moms with that. And although sometimes they might feel awkward in class holding this, more stiff baby doll rather than their baby that's going to not be quite as stiff, or at least you hope they're not quite as stiff as that. Sometimes babies are like, but I think that can be really helpful too. But our feedback after every class that we teach is often like, I'm so glad that I took this class. I feel so much more prepared and ready to breastfeed my baby.
Yeah, I think that alone, practicing with the doll, I'm like, I definitely could have used that. Because you have this newborn baby, especially your first baby, and they're like so fragile, and you're like worried to, like bend them and move them, and they're wiggly and flappy. And so you're like, how do I position myself and this baby without like losing support? Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you think every woman needs to know that doesn't know? Anything that we haven't covered that you just are really passionate about and want to share?
One of the biggest things is that finding lactation support and education before having a baby can be super helpful to also know what is correct information out there versus false information. Just because social media now, there are so many people out there that like to share information, and you have so many influencers that are having babies and sharing different things that may not be accurate to what things should be. Like, so for example, breastfeeding should not be painful, but yet I've seen so many influencers out there that share like, oh, breastfeeding is so painful and you just have to get through it for the first couple weeks or months. And here are all of the products that I use to help me through this process. Here's the Amazon links to purchase them. And I'm like, well, number one, breastfeeding shouldn't be painful. If it is, there's something wrong, and we should assess that to fix it. And two, you probably don't need half of these things that these people are trying to sell to make postpartum or breastfeeding easier or better. That making sure that they're finding information from good, reputable sources and using their money wisely. And rather than buying all these different products, maybe see a lactation consultant or take a breastfeeding class before they have their baby, or focus that on other things to be able to have that knowledge, which is going to be so much more beneficial and last so much longer.
Yeah, amazing. And you have an Instagram.
Yeah.
Are you posting like tips, helpful things
like that? So we post helpful tips and tricks, and then we also post about our bi-monthly support groups that we offer for free and our prenatal classes that we teach. So there's lots of different information and resources. Our website, we also have a blog that has a lot of different information, as well as a visual glossary where people can see images about all sorts of different terms that have to do with lactation, and what it is, what it has to do with lactation, how to improve that if it's a problem. There's so many free resources that we provide.
Yeah. Okay, so let's hear them. Where can people find you on Instagram, and what is your website so they know some good resources to look for?
So we are the Lactation Collection. So on Instagram, we're the Lactation Collection, and our website is thelactationcollection.com.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Anna.